What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. Yeah, all right, listen, I know we're kind of stretching the line of what is indie in this case, but I don't get to talk about pinball a lot on this channel, and this is a smaller developer, and, well, they're doing some interesting pinball stuff these days, so I'm gonna let this slide. So yes, today we are looking at Zen Studios Pinball M, and well, those of you who have been around here for a while know that I am a massive pinhead. I have been all my life. And if you have any doubt about that, well, check out this vintage Williams roller games machine that I own in my basement. Don't ask me what I paid for it because it hurts me to think about. And yeah, I really love pinball, and I haven't actually gotten to cover a lot of it on this channel. So I was really excited to have the opportunity to cover something new. Now, if you're familiar with Zen Studios, then you're probably familiar with the Pinball FX series, which they've been doing since the Xbox 360 era, I think. And the latest incarnation of that, which is just called Pinball FX, is basically a platform where you download the base version of it for free and you can buy additional tables to put into it. This is very similar. So the question you're probably asking yourself is, well, then why is this necessary? And I was wondering that initially too. And then I noticed that, well, they pitched this as a horror-themed pinball collection. And I was like, okay, you could still put that in the other thing. Then I realized what the M means. Mature, as in mature rated. Apparently the Pinball FX series is, I think at best, rated either T or E. And because of the themes of these tables, they would have had to change the rating of that to mature rated if they put them in there. So they spun it off into its own collection, which is an interesting idea. That's just a theory that's never been officially confirmed to me, but I think it adds up pretty well. So this is a much smaller collection. You get one table here for free just by downloading it. Consider that the demo, and then you can buy the additional tables that are into it. So here's what we got here. Wrath of the Elder Gods, which is an original table, and then we got a whole bunch of licensed stuff. You've got a table based on the Chucky's horror franchise. You have Duke Nukem. Duke Nukem's owned by the same parent company that owns Zen Studios, but, you know, I played a lot of Duke, and I would not consider this a horror game, but certainly mature rated, I guess. And then you got one based on The Thing, and then you have an officially licensed Dead by Daylight table, which I think is going to get a lot of interest from maybe outside the pinball world for this, which I think is pretty cool. Presumably there will be more tables coming down the pike. I am not aware of any of that, but I'm sure they're aiming, I'm sure, to build this collection out with more adult themed tables, which could be pretty cool. So, all right, so that's the quick little intro here. So I'm going to go over a bunch of the features of this collection, which is in the other Pinball FX collections. If you don't care about those, you just want to see a certain table, check the chapters down below, and you can jump around to whatever you like to see. So the Pinball FX platform actually has quite a number of features in it that make it quite interesting, actually. So with all the different tables, so you can go into a table, and this space right here that you're seeing that has the table in it is what's called your play space, or I think it's your play corner. And you can actually choose to customize this however you want. You can unlock a bunch of different mechanics, or visual items, I should say, through the game's mechanics, and other little ways to customize the environment that you buy with this sort of in-game currency here. You can't microtransaction this. This is all earned by completing challenges in the game, which I appreciate. And you can customize this, and it's not just for your own interest, and I'll show you what that means after. So you can adjust the table settings both in terms of cosmetics, and also you can unlock little things to help you along and make things a little easier for you. Every table has a full guide with little video guides to talk about the different mechanics in it. This is actually pretty nicely done. I like this. And then every table has what's called a mastery section. And by completing these, you unlock additional items with which to customize your experience. Every table has its own separate types of goals here that you can get, and you can see these through, and they all have different levels that you can do. You can get up to level 5 mastery in each one, which is kind of cool. So it gives you a reason to devote to certain types of play styles, I guess, and focus on certain mechanics, which I think is pretty cool. There's also daily challenges in this. You actually have, the server's a little slow tonight. I don't know what's going on here. It's normally much quicker than this, but there you go. So I've already done today's challenges, but each of them takes place on a different table and it has different challenges. So one of them here, the left one, is to play with very minimal light, so you can't see very well. The middle one is you have to get as high a score as you can in a limited number of hits of the flippers. And then there is one where you have to do increasing score targets to advance, kind of like an elimination mode, basically. And there are other ones as well, including distance traveled and trying to keep the ball alive while your score ticks down. And if you hit 0, it goes out. Neat ideas. I like that. And then there are various different leaderboards tied to these as well. This game has leaderboards for days, which I love. I think it's fantastic. You know, would replays be nice in this? Yeah, but in pinball, it's not as big a deal to me as in something like a shmup, I guess. They're gonna have what they call events as well. I don't know what these are, but they're listed as coming soon at time of recording. This isn't an early access game, so these will probably come around eventually. And then you have what's called tournaments, and tournaments are cool because they're made and run by different players, and you can make your own. So what you can do here is there's always tons of these going on, and you can just pick one, and you can see it shows the table and what it involves, what the goals are, and then each of these tournaments is leaderboarded independently. There's also tournament masteries in this. Really, really neat. So you can go and you'll see when this is where the customized play corners are for, because if somebody joins your tournament, they're going to see your play corner and play the table how you have customized it personally. So it's kind of like a way to do, like, you know, skins in a multiplayer shooter. It's kind of a different way to do that, which I think is cool. And I love how these things are all leaderboarded independently. Such a cool idea. And you can create your own, dead simple, with all kinds of different rules and conditions and everything. You can limit it to only your friends. You can limit it so that people can only take a certain number of tries. Really slick stuff. It's a great platform. I really like it. And then, as I said, as you unlock the in-game currency, you can get all these different customizable things. Some of them are just for your player banner, which again is relevant to tournaments. And then you have ones for each table, including different table skins, different sound effects and lighting for the play corners. You can change the skin on the balls if you want. Change the skin on my balls. And you can change the trails if you want, the flipper styles, all kinds of really neat stuff here. There's a lot in here. And you level, basically the way you earn more of this currency is you level up your play character. So you can see there in the upper right corner that, whoops, that's the wrong button, that I am level 17 right now, and these are all the various things I have unlocked that I can pick. You earn a decent amount of currency from each level up, and level ups don't take too long, really. It's not that bad, though. You will have to grind more as it gets further along. So as you can see, there's a lot going on here. So there's my play corner there. So also, each of the tables has what's called campaigns. These are just one-off challenges, and you unlock different ways to customize your play corner depending on how you've ranked up in these. So you can see here, I have 3-starred most of these, and I'm gonna be honest with you, most of these are not that hard, except for certain ones. The survival challenge in this, which is basically where, I'll show you this, which is basically what happens is you start a game, you get 90 seconds of grace time to score as high as you possibly can, and then your score will tick down in increasingly large amounts. And when your score hits 0, that's it. And you have to survive as long as possible. I have found these to be very difficult, but I think they might be glitched as well at time of recording. I'm not sure, but I've had my runs end when it doesn't look like my score has hit 0 yet. And I have gotten a little bit confused by that, and I'm wondering what the heck, what the deal is with that. So I'm not so sure about that. They might be bugged, they might not be, but if they aren't, they are a lot harder. And those are the only ones I'm really struggling with. Pretty much all the other ones, a lot of them I got through on my first try. But again, those are all leaderboarded too. So even when you've unlocked all the cosmetics that you get from it, well, you can still go in here and see if you can beat some of the other people. And by God, yeah, the savants are out. Oh yeah, this only launched a couple of days ago. There was a glorious time before this launch, because I got a pre-release code for this where I was like third on most of the leaderboards worldwide. I knew it wouldn't last, but it was nice while it did. Yeah, oh well. And of course, any of the tables that you own, you can play freely, and Wrath of the Elder Gods is unlimited access. Now, I don't know if this is going to rotate or not. I'm going to guess not. But, you know, if you don't have a lot of money, you can download and play this one table for free, and it's a good table. You know, they didn't cheap out on that, so that's kind of nice. So, okay. Now that you've got all this, I'm playing on the PC, by the way. I believe this is coming to the major consoles as well. So you have options there. One of the nice things about the PC version, I'm not going to turn this on here, but the Pinball FX platform has always supported people who use custom PC cabinets that are look like pinball machines, but they're actually just, you're not playing with real pinball. You're playing with basically the playfield is a monitor, so you have to turn the rotation and things like that. This supports that, which is really cool, and Pinball FX has for quite some time. I'm glad that they do that. So, all right, so I'm going to fire each of the tables up here and show you what we've got. So this is the free one. This is Wrath of the Elder Gods, and you have each of the tables has multiple different modes. So you have the different challenges that you can pick: flip, distance, ball challenge, which is just a certain preset number of balls. These are the Pinball M challenges. These are like these are specific ones for this collection. And then you have the various different modes. Classic is the normal mode, which plays like you would normally expect. Arcade mode lets you use the various power-ups that you unlock by completing goals within the tables, as you can see down here. I've got these, but you can't play those in classic. Hot seat is a multiplayer mode where each player takes a different turn and tries to score for the highest. And then there's practice mode, which is always nice, but there's no awards or leaderboards for practice. So yeah, you fire this guy up and off you go. So one of the maybe contentious things I'm going to say that the Pinball FX series has traditionally had among pinball enthusiasts is the physics. The older Pinball FX titles didn't feel like pinball. The ball felt like it was hollow, like it was a ping pong ball basically that you were bouncing around. It accelerated way too fast and it got really unwieldy. You know, in traditional pinball, you're playing with an actual like steel ball. So there's a lot of weight and momentum associated with that. And the Pinball FX series often didn't play like that. Now, Pinball FX, by and large, is fantasy pinball, what I call it. You know, these tables, and you're going to see this, these tables are doing things that real tables literally would be incapable of doing. And I love real pinball, but I actually like well-done fantasy pinball too, because it allows you to take the core concepts of pinball and expand them into something different and interesting, right? And that's what all of these are. They did try to mimic some real Williams tables in Pinball FX 3, which mixed results with that. And I do think that the newer series, in particular this one, does feel more like real pinball. The ball is still not quite heavy enough, in my opinion, but it plays much better. So if you're someone who really didn't like the old Pinball FX games because of the ball physics, they're better here. I don't know if they'll satisfy purists, but video pinball probably never will, to be honest. So that's something to take a look at here. So as you can tell, this is very much Eldritch Horror Cthulhu themed pinball on this table. I generally enjoy it. I don't mind tables that are busy and have a lot of interesting elements like this, as long as they don't get overly crowded. The pinball tables that I don't tend to like in real life or otherwise are tables that have a lot of different elements but have so much going on that they crowd the table and make it hard to line up your shots and hard to control the ball, because it can run into things so early on in the table without things getting too, without the ball getting too far up. This table is good because, as you can see, there's obviously a lot going on up there, but it's up there. There is a lot of space down here for the ball to get momentum in different directions and for you to easily control it. Various Pinball FX tables, some have done this well, others have not, and usually intentionally, right? But it's sort of by design. I like that this one gives you a lot of free reign to sort of move around and really aim your shots and, you know, sort of create a path for yourself as you get good at it. As you can see as well, these being fantasy pinball, it does have those pop-up numbers that show the score. I don't actually mind those. Some people really dislike them, and you can turn those off if you want, which is always nice. The only thing I'm going to say that I don't generally like about this table and a couple of the other ones is the voiceover. I think the voice acting in this for the sort of bark elements that happen is really not that good, and frankly kind of annoying. I just don't think it's well done, and I think it's a little bit grating. But the other really nice thing, you can tell these guys have been doing this for a while. The other nice thing, you can turn the voiceover volume down in particular. So if you go into the options here, you have a whole bunch of different volume options. You even have I think the physics volume is like what the sound of the clanks and clongs of the ball moving around. That would be my guess. So there is a lot of options in here, including the ability to turn down the voiceover independently. So if you don't like it, dead easy. Really like that. And as you can see on the right side there, as you complete different goals, whether it's earn scores or activating certain modes or whatever, you earn XP. That's how you earn the currency to unlock the different cosmetic items. Those pop-up notifications, I believe you can also turn off if they annoy you. They don't bother me too much. They tend to stay out of the way, and they don't distract me too much, so that's pretty good. And yeah, you can see this is a very visually busy table, but I don't mind it. I think it actually looks pretty good. I think they did a nice job on the effects, and though this game looks really good, it's not terribly demanding. I'm playing this on a 3080 with everything cranked up, including ray tracing support, which this actually has, and it's not struggling. Like, the fans on my GPU are not screaming, and you know, it stays well over 100 frames per second pretty much constantly. So very nice play experience that way. And if you want to turn things down, I'm sure you could run this on quite a bit less hardware if you needed to, so which is very good. I mean, frame rate and frame time consistency is critical in pinball because you need to minimize your input lag as much as possible, and this certainly does that. Now, I am playing this with a controller, but pinball being a largely digital medium, you can easily play this with a keyboard and mouse. Truth be told, using my mechanical keyboard, which reacts much more quickly and doesn't require nearly as deep a key press as the triggers on my Xbox controller, would actually probably give me a slight edge with this. I kind of like just being able to lean back with the controller though and play this that way, but your mileage may vary on that. And there is a tilt option in this as well. This is one of the things people tend to like about video pinball over real pinball, is tilting a real pinball machine is actually pretty hard. You gotta really like lean into it if you want to do that. I've learned that with my roller games machine. You gotta really to make that thing move, even if it's on a fairly slick surface. Like, mine lives on a parquet floor. And it's, or not a parquet floor, I guess, but you know, what do they call it? A laminate floor. That's the word I was looking for. And even then, it's kind of hard to move. Whereas with these, if you need to nudge it, you just hit the stick and off it goes. What I have found with this is that the nudge doesn't tend to have a very significant effect, and these tables are very sensitive for tilting. So you got to watch that. And you got to make sure that you are very careful about how you handle that, and that you don't overdo it. This ain't like Demon's Tilt, where you are literally told to like really manhandle the table. So that's something to be noticeable of. Now, you may be like, wow, you got your highest score there. No, I've done way better than this. Most of my time with this game has been spent playing the campaign and the daily challenge modes. I haven't actually played too many of the tables on their own outside of those modes yet. So yeah, that's Wrath of the Elder Gods, which is the free table. I do like that one. I think it's actually pretty good. So it's definitely one of the nicer ones in here, I think. So the next up is Chucky's here, and we'll give this one a look here. So yeah, pretty much everything in here is licensed except for Wrath of the Elder Gods. And I mean, Duke Nukem is kind of licensed, but like I said, Zen and 3D Realms are both owned, and Gearbox for that matter, are all owned by Embracer Group. So I imagine if they had to pay anything at all for that license, they kind of got a deal on it. So this is another one that generally gives you a fair bit of, you know, free space in order to aim your shots and get the ball to have some momentum. The ramps in this one are, the left ramp is a lot easier to hit. The right one is trickier for sure. But there's a neat little mechanic here that you might see if I can get it to activate, which is that you can get a temporary secondary left flipper to pop out there right around where the beginning of that red ramp is on the left side. It looks like a razor blade, and you can only use it for brief periods, but if you hit the ball with it properly, you can easily send it up into that spinner in the upper right corner, which is like a blender cutting machine. A lot of this is probably going to make sense to Chucky fans. I've never seen a Chucky movie, so I'm not a big horror movie person, so you know, you'll have to forgive my ignorance on that. Some of this you're probably like, oh my god, how do you not know that? Yeah, well, that's why. But that's an easy way to get the ball into that more difficult lane in order to activate multi-ball, which is what you get by locking multiple balls in there. So that's pretty cool as well. Also, I'm playing with this very wide angle. The Pinball FX games do have multiple camera angles that you can switch between. I have always tended to like that second view where you can sort of see the whole table at once, especially with how fast the ball tends to move in these games. I find that even if you're using a follow camera like this, it can be hard to stay on top of it, and in particular figure out where you need to aim it quickly if you can't see the whole table. But that's a me thing. So you see here I'm cycling through the different views. So this is sort of an alternative view for that, which some people might like. I just prefer the more static view, but it's, you know, entirely up to you, whatever you like. There is also what's called the manual view, which is new to me. I don't remember seeing this before, but there's what's called a manual camera setup that you can do here. And I believe this is basically a custom preset. So you can choose to sort of set this angle however you want it, and then save that as a preset in the manual camera mode. I actually think that's really, really slick. I think that's really neat, and you know, for people who want that, I think that's gonna be very cool. But yeah, view number 3 is generally my preferred one, just because, like I said, it lets you see everything in general. And all of these, of course, have little mini games going on. You've got this walking Chucky around here, which is you have to try to avoid hitting him. In this particular one, you have to avoid hitting him while trying to get to a certain place. You know, the Chucky doll walking around the playfield can't really do that on a real pinball machine. So, you know, that's a neat thing to have here. And as you can see, there's little video clips up there that allow you to, that it sort of shows clips from the movies as you go, which gives you that little bit of extra feel to it, which is always cool. You saw another pop up there on the right side as well. The game will track where your friends are on the leaderboards and where you are in relation to them. So if you're coming up on their score, you're about to beat them, it'll tell you. It'll also tell you if you're going to beat your weekly score or other things like that. The game is really, really good at constantly feeding you little milestones to achieve. So you always feel like you're getting somewhere and that you're making good, you know, you're making progress, and you're like, yeah, I'm just about to achieve something else. So there you can see I've beaten Freeman's record. Hey, Freeman, get good, scrub. Yeah. So, and there, I have the highest score among my friends on this table. Now, not too many friends of mine own this yet, but you know what I mean. There's the little blade power up, as you can see right there. So some of these things you could do in real tables, other things you couldn't. So, and I like the little mix of how they're doing it. These do enough interesting, fantastical things to set themselves apart, but they also have enough going on that they feel grounded in reality. You know, like they feel like this, you know, there's elements of this that isn't those of a real pinball table, but it also still has enough of that real pinball table feel. It's a really nice mix, and Zen is very good at how they balance this. I always appreciate that from them. So, all right, we're gonna go to the thing now. We'll come back. We'll do Duke last because, like I said, he's the one that definitely feels like the odd man out in this one. The thing might be. This might be one of my favorite ones in the game, actually. So you got this little movie clip here as you start it. Confession, again, because I didn't like horror movies back in the day, I've never seen The Thing. I also don't like animal harm in movies, of which I know there's quite a bit of it in this, but I am going to watch this someday because it's John Carpenter, and John Carpenter's freaking awesome. And I know many consider this one to be one of his best ones. This one probably gives you the most open space, as you can see. The elements at the top of the play field in this there's a lot going on up there. There's a lot of different things you can get into and a lot of different things you can trip. As you can see, lots of places you can send the ball. The ramps are actually fairly short, and there's a couple that really aren't ramps at all. They're just hovels that you can go into, basically. So you have a lot of different places you can send the ball, and all the free space that they give you here makes it a lot easier to plan those and set them up. And I like the pacing of this one a little bit more. The Chucky one likes to pause a lot for those video clips, and I think they're kind of cool, but I just like keeping the action going, and this one has some more interesting stuff here. Now, you are going to see some of these tables do kind of seem like they're sharing elements a little bit, like this one and the Wrath of the Elder Gods and the Chucky one all have that sort of collection spherical thing in the upper right corner. There's a little bit of similarity that you'll see, but the way you access all of those is very different on each table. They're definitely not just copy and pasted, and they don't feel like that they're reusing, you know, that they're taking the same core level design and just copy pasting it with some changes and calling it a day. You know, that each of these tables do feel somewhat bespoke and, you know, very purposely designed. This isn't something that they crapped out quickly. And I appreciate that. You know, Zen has put out now so many different pinball tables based on so many different licenses that it's impossible for everything to be consistently awesome. You know, I own every table in Pinball FX, and some of them I really, really, really like. And a lot of them I think are good, but a few I'm just kind of like, no, it feels like they missed that, or they, you know, or that maybe it was a little bit rushed. I've generally thought all the ones in this pack are pretty solid. I've had a good experience with all of these, and they do feel fairly thoughtfully designed. And the different mini games and challenges that they have in them all feel like they are, and elements like that do feel that they're being respectful to the source material. They didn't just make a Chucky the Thing in Dead by Daylight table and just, you know, slap the name on it and went, there we go, that'll get people to buy it. No, they actually thought, how can we do something that kind of feels like you're going through the plot of, you know, The Thing, but in pinball form? You know, it's cool. I like that, and I like that they've been doing this long enough now that they definitely understand how to take a concept and do something cool with it that makes it seem familiar and not just a licensed cash grab. You know, I appreciate that actually a lot. I like that. So I'm just gonna let this ball out here so that we can go to the next one, but I gotta make sure my score saves because I've now beaten Freeman on 2 tables. Huh? Yeah, that's right. There we go. All right, here we go. So yeah, the Thing is also a pretty solid one. I like that one as well. It's probably one of my more favorite ones. But Dead by Daylight, now I played some Dead by Daylight, but not a lot. I haven't played it to the crazy degree some people have. And this one, I think, probably adheres to its source material the best. And I'll show you why that is, because when you start a game in this, so you see this, it says Flipper Select. Yeah, you actually can play as the killer or a survivor, and you can pick different survivors, each of which gives you a different ability. or you can choose to play as the killer and access some specific abilities that he has as well. That is really cool. Again, they didn't just slap a name on it and some visual elements and call it a day. No, they went, okay, we know how Dead by Daylight works. So how are we going to make something that will appeal to people who actually enjoy the Dead by Daylight game and who might not be pinball fans? And I've seen a couple of people who have wishlisted this on my Steam friends list, this series, who are, I don't think, very big pinball players, but are big Dead by Daylight players. And I think when they see how this attaches itself mechanically to the base game, they're going to go, oh yeah, all right. And they can find a reason to enjoy a game that, you know, that plays enough like Dead by Daylight that they'll enjoy the fact that it's not Dead by Daylight. It's a pinball game, obviously, but you can feel very familiar in it. I like that. I think that's really smart. This table has less free space in the middle, as you can see, but it's got these very long ramps that are easy to aim for, but you really got to make sure the ball has got some crazy power behind it if you want to scale those. It's a long uphill slope for those. So you really got to aim hard and make sure that the ball is really kicking if you want to get up there. And I like this little magnet trap up top here where you have that sort of glowing lane that gives you bonuses. When you launch a new ball, it will actually magnet you there for a second, and if you time it right, you'll get up there. And then if you're really good, if you send the ball up there during normal play, you can also hit it up there without the magnet if you can time things really, really well, and you'll often get some pretty sizable bonuses for that, which is nice, especially, as always, if you can combo the same shot multiple times, it will reward you for that. So there we go. We got I was getting pretty good at that one, but yeah, it's definitely the speed at which the ball comes down and when it drops, I think, varies a little bit every time. So you can't frame perfect memorize how to get the ball up that ramp. You always got to be keeping on your toes a little bit and, you know, pay attention to it, because it will never be exactly the same way twice, which I like. It means that you can't just be amazing at memorization and pull that off. And yeah, much like this, there's different mini games and other things like that, and elements that are tied to the particular survivors that you're playing. So here's a skill check here. Whoops, and I totally boned that up. But basically, that has kind of like, if you remember the active reload concept in video games, where if you press the button at the right time, you get a bonus when you're reloading your gun. It's like that. You basically have to, if you can hit a target, you get a bonus. If you can hit a smaller target within that target, you get an even bigger bonus. And yeah, I enjoy the way this one plays. I find it's a little bit less frantic than some of the other tables are. There are things going on in this one without a doubt, but it paces itself a little more gently. And I think that might be to try to appeal to players of the game, because Dead by Daylight is not a fast-paced game. You know, people in that game don't tend to move very fast. You have to be actually somewhat strategic and really have to plan out your moves and things like that, because if you're playing Dead by Daylight against people who are really good at it and you're not thinking several moves ahead, you dead. And this feels a little bit more paced like that, like it kind of wants you to take your time a bit more and really think more about where you want the ball to go rather than just move super quickly with it. And I like that, and I think players of Dead by Daylight will like that. Again, Zen seems to understand what people expect out of something like that. And then over here, I've got Balls of Steel. So there actually was a collection called Balls of Steel that you can actually still buy to this day from back in the DOS era that had a Duke Nukem table in it. And this is the first time we've seen a Duke Nukem pinball since then. And again, there's weird alien things in it. I would not call this a horror game like all the other ones, but I would call it an M-rated game. And they probably had easy access to the license, so, you know, okay, fine. And I mean, I like Duke Nukem well enough. I think Duke Nukem's maybe not so much forever, but yeah, Duke Nukem is an idea. I played the hell out of some Duke Nukem 3D back in the day, so I always like this here. And Duke Nukem is such a ridiculous character. And they got the absolute legend himself, John St. John, back to voice Duke in here. I think these are new recordings. I don't believe they're just repurposing recordings from other Duke games. And you know, John St. John is he's a voice talent that doesn't get nearly enough credit, in my opinion. He's got way more range than just Duke Nukem, but that's kind of what everybody knows him for, which is a bit too bad. So this table is probably the most packed of it. It has the least amount of open play space, but still a pretty good amount of it, as you can see. It is a lot easier to get caught along the sides and to get kind of shocked quickly by this. I've had situations before where, yeah, some of these pits that you can go into here will eject the ball out at very high speed, very suddenly, and it will catch you off guard sometimes. So this is one where I've found you sometimes have to definitely pay closer attention if you don't want to get really surprised by a ball coming out at you really quickly. But you still have a lot of room to get things up, but it is a little more visually muddled because, as you can see, like, there are multiple lanes up there. At a very quick glance, it's not always obvious where each of the ramps are. Like, if you sit and look at it for several seconds, you can be like, oh yeah, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there, no problem. But you can, if this is one of the reasons I like to use this view that keeps the whole table in view at all times, because if you have to pick a lane really quick when the ball's moving fast, it's not always obvious where a lane ends and a background object begins. So that's something you have to keep an eye out for, because yeah, it's very gray up there and very orange down below, right? There's a lot of hard contrast there, so you've got to really pay attention to it. This is another thing I like. When you go up to where the bumpers are, because you're in the arcade, it starts the crazy arcade music from Duke Nukem 3D, but only when you're in that area, and then it fades it out. Nice touch. I like that. That's something a real pinball table could do, but I don't know if I've ever seen done, to be honest with you, that kind of musical transition. I think that's pretty cool. And you have your Duke character there in the bottom left who will fly around depending on the different mini games you have. There's one mini game in this where you basically transition to another basically another area. It's kind of like a shooting gallery. I actually find it quite easy, to be honest with you, where you basically have to aim and shoot at aliens, but it transports you to this arena that actually kind of looks like a mini Duke Nukem 3D level, and really has the chunky art style of the build engine and things like that. Very nice. You know, the attention to detail in the tables in this collection is really what stood out to me the most. I think each of them clearly had a good amount of effort put into them. They weren't, you know, they weren't crapped out quickly just to make a cash grab off a license. They really did try to respect the licenses that they were given and do things that make sense in the context of those things, and that people would enjoy from that. You know, these tables couldn't fully be real tables because of some of the elements like the flying characters and things like that. But from their core mechanical design, with just a few changes like that, you could totally make physical machines out of these. And they play pretty well, I think, actually. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but it's definitely something that could be done. And honestly, I would love to play a modern Duke Nukem pinball machine. I mean, if Stern wanted to make one of those, yeah, I'd probably get in on that. You know, it's yeah, it just, each of these feels good. They all play different in very unique ways, and none of them plays bad. There's a couple that I enjoy playing a bit more than others, but I don't dislike any of these. I think they're all I think they're actually all quite good. So this is the other mini game here. I'm not going to do that shooting gallery one because it takes a while and it kind of takes you out of it, but yeah, all of these are good. I enjoy them all. You know, when I've logged in and there's been daily challenges that mixes up the tables, I've never seen a daily challenge for one particular table and went, oh, I gotta play that one. No, every one of them I've been like, yeah, okay, let's get in on that. You know, but there's a couple where maybe if I was a little bit strapped for time, I might have, you know, I might choose one over the other. But overall, I think this is a very good package. I really do hope they continue to be able to add tables to this, because if this is going to be the collection where it's like Zen Pinball, but all the tables that are, you know, too hot for regular Zen Pinball, that's cool. And there's a lot of things they can do with that. There's a lot of, you know, M-rated games they could base tables on. There's a lot more horror movies out there, you know, Saw anyone, you know, talk about a perfect idea for pinball that practically writes itself. So I think there's going to be more coming. I hope there is, and it's a good package. You know, these run on Unreal Engine. Zen has them tuned really well so that they do run well. They still don't play entirely like real pinball, but they do still play quite well. There's a lot of neat unlockables to get, but none of them are required for you to be able to enjoy the game, and none of them require you to spend any real money, which I quite appreciate. There's a lot of customizability. You know, the inbuilt tournament system is really slick. The daily challenges are a nice thing to keep you coming, nice simple thing to keep you coming back. You know, there's a lot of things you can do here. The table masteries are really fun and encourage you to really make the most out of each of the tables, different mechanics, and really learn how to play them a certain way. I enjoy that. The pinball cabinet support for people who have that kind of setup is great. That's a real hardcore enthusiast feature that I love to see here. And yeah, all the tables just feel really solid overall. You know, I'm a pinhead. I own a real machine. I love real pinball. Some people love real pinball to the point where video pinball is just a bridge too far for them. I think this is not going to change that for you. There's still enough fantasy elements and ways in which this doesn't play quite like a real table that's going to turn those people off. But if you're someone who can appreciate the best of both worlds, then this is a very good pinball experience to pick up. And there's not a ton of new pinball coming out these days. Zen is one of the only companies left really still making new pinball stuff. So, you know, for me, I'm happy to see more of it, and I'm happy to support the cause and keep this stuff coming. So yeah, that is Pinball M. It is out now. I have been enjoying it quite a bit. You can mix and match the tables. Wrath of the Elder Gods is free if you want to try that out, and then you can the other tables, you don't have to buy it as a pack. You can mix and match, you know, play only the ones that you want. Which I think is really cool. But they do give you this one table for free, so it gives you lots of opportunities to learn about this and learn if you think it's going to be right for you. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you like what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, does this interest you? What other mature rated pinball properties, whether movies, TV, video games, whatever, would you like to see them add to this in the future? I can think of a few, but I'd love to know what you guys think about that. And what are some of your other favorite video pinball games that are out there? I played most of them, but I'd love to know what you guys are into as well. And you can also follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction. I'm going to be focusing more on retro games for my streams for a little while over there. Going to be working on what I call the deep backlog, but I do cool indie stuff there too that's better suited to streaming. We have a great little community there, and I'd love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take her easy.